I'm Edwin. I'm a partner and a creative coder for RNDR Studio. RNDR is it's a small studio. We are 4 people, and we are based in The Hague. And to give an idea of our work, I think our work is mostly like taking data and bring it into space, or sort of experiential data visualization, as they call it. I'm also the principal developer of OPENRNDR, which is the framework that was mentioned in the introduction. OPENRNDR is a set of tools for creative coding, and we started developing this in our early days of making installations, and this has been open sourced roughly 2 years ago. A big part of open sourcing this software is writing documentation for it. So we wrote the OPENRNDR guide, which intends to make this piece of software, which is, I think it's a pretty technical piece of software, accessible to anyone who is interested. And I think this has been pretty successful. Also, if I look at what we do in workshops, where we give workshops to students of graphic design or interaction design who have or little or no programming experience, despite the technicalities, they actually are able to use OPENRNDR as a tool to create their designs. Next to OPENRNDR, we have a small daughter project, which is called ORX, and that is mostly user or community contributed extensions to OPENRNDR. So they contain a lot of tools for making interfaces, or for applying filters to your renders. But despite that there are so many pretty advanced tools, one of the things that I enjoy most in this framework, and it's really simple, but it's super important to our workflow, is that we can have a project, we can have many small iterations of programs living next to each other. So in our process, we often start with a really rough prototype of what it should do, and often the ideas of what it should do they change while we make the prototype. So here you see a screenshot of a typical project where we have files, and they start with the 0.1 and they go up to in this case only 0.4, but sometimes that goes much higher. And another tool in our toolkit that is for us super important is just the ability to render videos of whatever you're placing on the screen, and this is useful for so many things. It's really useful to communicate within our company, between designers. It's super useful for archiving the material. Also, in my experience, code tends to fall apart or stop working for. There shouldn't be a reason, but there are so many reasons for code to fall apart. And thirdly, it's really handy to communicate to your clients what it is that you're doing in code, because you can just share the video. The type of work that we make with this framework, this is a nice example. Here we were invited to make a piece that should be placed on this this field of grass in front of this cinema, in an area that it's a brand newly developed area, and there isn't so much going on. And we were asked to place a piece there. And our way of working is taking data from a space and giving it back to the space, or manifesting it somehow but when you look around here, you won't see so much things to take data out of. And that was until we realized that this field is like right above a highway, like exactly above the highway. And that led us to propose the following thing: a one-to-one reconstruction of this highway on this field. Yeah, so you create sort of a teleporter or a telepresence of this traffic, and we really wanted this thing to be like one-to-one scale. So we had this idea of these frames that are really as large as the tunnel itself. But of course, you have to make concessions now and then in budgets and that kind of thing. Then there was another interesting thing is that if you want to make this thing really one-to-one, you also need one-to-one data. Initially, we wanted to do things like place sensors or cameras in these tunnels under this field, but the people that maintain the road and the road infrastructure, of course, they say you cannot do this. They do, however, have their own measuring equipment for these things, but also they are not very keen on sharing that data directly. However, they do give you like a summary of the traffic. So they give you the average speed and an estimation of the number of vehicles that passed every minute. So we sort of decided that using this 1 minute resolution data, it is enough to make something that really feels like you're showing traffic on that field. So the work eventually, the work eventually turned out into arcs on the field, exactly in the size that we wanted to have them. And there's still this idea of using two-sided arcs. So on one side you see red light, and on the other side you see white light. And that's of course because on the right lane you see in this view the cars from the back, and on the other side you would see them from the front. Right. So that's a very simple way to sort of make a one-to-one reconstruction of something in this area. I think it's really adding something meaningful to this place. Also because a lot of people do visit this place, but they pass underneath it. Right, completely different work. This was made for the International Documentary Festival in Amsterdam, and they have a very strong program for interactive documentaries. And we were here invited by a filmmaker to turn 60 hours of unedited footage into an automatically generated documentary. And the idea is that visitors can change parameters of this documentary. So first, a simple overview of the space that we had in mind. So this would be how we imagined the piece to be in the exhibition space. So there is a cinema area with a screen. There's a bench for spectators. And there is, in the front here, you see, an editing table with a control panel, which is a small touchscreen. And just because we make this cinema setup, you have to also provide the things that make it a cinema, like a continuous piece of documentary that is running. So the idea is that we create a documentary that is running without being disrupted when someone changes the parameters of the documentary. Here you see some some sketches of well, two important pieces in this work. Is the first piece is the interface, where people are asked to change parameters of this documentary, and that quickly becomes really hard, because you ask people to change parameters of something that they really don't know. They don't know what is in this archive. They don't know what these parameters will do. And here you see a sketch for an interface, where on the bottom you would see the shots ordered by or ranked by how you set the parameters. And I show this because this is like the typical sort of problem that we cannot solve it by starting drawing it, or in the classical way with pen and paper or in Illustrator. So we really need to make simple implementations for these things to understand what they really do. And also, like this interface had many iterations because of us trying to figure out how these things work. The other part that is really important in this work is the visualization of the automatic editing process. So there's a piece of software, machine learning based software, that for any shot that is playing, it will make a decision which is going to be the next shot that is going to be played. And that next shot, of course, is weighed against the user input and properties of the shots themselves. So here we try to visualize this decision-making process by actually just showing a decision tree, and we zoom in on what is going to be the next shot that is played. However, if you look at this, it's a very anonymous visualization. It doesn't relate to the data at all, and I think with these kind of works, especially if they are in exhibition environments, you have to relate to the task you're doing and the data that you're working with. So as soon as you replace the rectangles with shots from the movie that or from the documentary that you're making, you already have something that works as a factor that points into the future. You can, as a spectator, you can sort of see what is going to be used in this decision process, and you can think about this in terms of what it will do in a documentary, and not as a tree of anonymous boxes. So the eventual outcome of this piece is it looks like this. So we see in front the editing table, and on the left of the editing table you see actually the outcome of the editing process, which is shared with the cinema screen. Then there is on the right we see this decision tree that also works as a timeline, and here you see the panel that is used to parameterize the edit. So in this edit you can change if it should use dark or light shots, if it should use close-ups or far-away shots, or if it should use dynamic or more static shots. And this is a piece that is we've been invited last year for a festival in Romania, a music festival with a very large media art show, and we were invited with a specific brief to make a work that it's an interesting and engaging work by itself, but it also has a didactic component that explains a bit how these type of works, how they work, what is their medium like, what does that medium look like. So we made this piece that actually it's very much led by how the space is where we made this work for, because the space consisted of 2 rooms that are placed next to each other. So we used the first room. We used it to place this piece that uses live 360-degree video footage from a camera that we have placed on the festival terrain, so that video data is streamed into our work. And by moving into the circle, you sort of take over control of this visualization. And by moving left and right, you would change the angle of the thing that you're looking at. And by moving forward and backward, you start treating the video as an archive, because you see that this half sphere on which we projected the video is made up of small triangles. And we decided that once you start moving to the back, that every triangle is showing a different fragment of time. So it's an interesting piece in which you can explore time and space and like the nearby space inside this room. Then next to that room, we created actually like the same piece, but in an unfolded version, on which we project data that is all the data that is used in the other piece. So it's sort of a decomposition of the work. So on those blocks, you can see the sensor data that is used, the video stream that is used, statistics about the internal state of the software, statistics about the machine that the software is running on, statistics about the video decoder. And the entire idea behind it is that we have people in this space that can explain what is going on. So really part of this piece is that there's people there telling the story of what this data is and how these kind of works are made. And I think being able to tell the story and really be able to point at a manifestation of this data, I think that really helped. And there's also another interesting thing in this picture is that we share this space with other artists. So you see on these walls there are these really nice pieces, and we had the option of covering them up, but we very strongly felt that we should make a piece that really becomes one with an existing space that has a history. So here we have a video of this work. So here you see the space and time interaction with this sphere. And it's also it's really nicely made that more than one person can be in this space, and we put a lot of effort into making sure that the person that is inside this circle, it really feels like he is controlling that work, and that the presence of other people doesn't disturb that experience. So that was an overview of works that really rely on having spaces, having people in that space, and being able to see those people with sensors directly, and the interaction is all based on physical presence. And of course, this year didn't make that really easy. Actually, this year we haven't really been able to make any works of this kind. So instead, as an experiment for ourselves, and also just to see how much of our thinking is still applicable in a world without physical interaction. Maybe we made this platform where we ask users a simple question, like, what do you see from your window? And people were invited to upload a picture and write a short story, and we would map this out. And what I find interesting here is that we have actually never been much further away from our users, but at the same time, I don't think we ever asked them such a personal question. And I find it I find asking these personal questions actually like a really nice and interesting shift in our work. Also, festivals themselves, they have been moving out of this physical space, and they moved online. So we have online festivals, and one of those online festivals is the Holland Festival, and they hosted Bill T. Jones. Bill T. Jones is primarily a choreographer, and I think in his thinking, he is very much concerned about mind and body being the same thing. And one of the central thing in this work is actually a question: what do you know? But like, what do you know for real? What do you know with your entire body? And the question was to send in a short video in which you tell what you know, and you also use your body to express yourself, which wasn't maybe the easiest question, but with really interesting results. So just to give you an example,
I know that I can make 3-month happy.
That's one of the couple of 120 videos that were sent in eventually. And it's exactly this: someone explaining what they know and trying to use their body to make that message stronger. What I think was interesting for us is that there is still something that represents the body. You know, it's captured in video, and we could still use our software tools and our machines to work with that. So for this project we made a small set of tools, like a face tracker, a body pose tracker, and something that uses motion analysis to tell something about the body, but also the movements in the space, to draw with all those things. And at the same time, we would also not only look at the video as an individual artifact, but also all the videos together, they form an archive. So you can also play around with ways to draw with the archive. So here is like a simple zigzag movement on which we map every frame in the archive. Here's a point cloud and a tunnel. And the idea was that after you sent in this video, we return the favor and we make a specialized edit for you based on these effects effects analysis, ways of drawing that we developed. So one of those videos would look like this. Yeah, actually, one thing that while I was making this presentation that I found kind of interesting was that for this video process, we use old-fashioned green screens, and I couldn't help but notice how hopefully temporarily we have traded in our physical spaces for green screens. All right, I think that was it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that insight. Super nice.
Cool, Edwin. Thank you for the talk. So actually, regarding the last project, you have been showing us like the I Know for Holland Festival. Can you tell us a bit more what effect it had on the audience? Do you have any insights on that one?
Oh, that is so hard, and I think that's something that's in general pretty hard with these projects. Is like you have to do a lot of work to get people out there, to actually get them to know of this project. I have had some feedback on the project, and most people think it's really nice. It's a very poetic piece, which I think too. And it's despite that there's so much technology in making these animations, I do think there's a really strong personal note in it. Also, if you check out his videos, what is really interesting is there's a lot of things that are that seem really urgent at this time. There's people who have like more political messages about like their value as a human being, and it's interesting.
Yeah, I think also super interesting how you work with data in a way. I mean, there were a few questions about it in the audience, and obviously some of the installations you made are super complex. And we just wondered, do you think that data is basically a new version of code?
Oh, well. There are some interesting philosophies about this. I think data and code are actually the same thing. It's just that. For code, you sort of know that there is a machine that is going to make an interpretation of it. For data, I think in many cases that machine that is going to read it is not as defined as the machine that is going to make an interpretation of the code. So I think they are in many ways they are the same thing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but just from that thinking, I think that the job of a programmer maybe shifts a little bit from someone who architects or does the architecture to someone who kind of collects and tries to find the right code to express what they want, right?
Yeah, well, it's a really, for me, it's a bit hard to answer question. Like, also for me, when I first saw a computer, I saw, which was at a very young age, I saw computer graphics, and basically the only thing I really wanted to do after that was use that machine to draw things. So it has always been about drawing for me, and it's like these data visualizations that we do now. I see them as an extension of drawing. So you make a machine that uses whatever it can get its hands on to make drawings. So yeah, for me, I think yes, that's maybe different from how other people would think of data visualization, data and code.
Yeah, in the end, also depends a little bit on how you train that machine, right? I mean, I think you are using a little bit of an AI here and there, which you trained, of course, and in the end, that AI also becomes something like a tool, or I would say a brush stroke or whatever.
Yeah.
Train it, and how you interact with it really shapes then what outcome could be created.
Yeah.
I mean, we were also really interested in the OpenRender project you guys created. Could you elaborate a little bit more why you did that? Why you had the feeling to?
Yeah, that's I think that's also something you will find in many people are incredibly enthusiastic about creation and programming. Is at some point there's a desire to work with tools that are fully mastered. And I think at the time where we started creating this, we truly had the idea that, okay, if you roll your own tools, you will fully master them. Which I think in a way it's true. We have had many situations where I think this is a definite benefit. But there's of course also, there's also downsides to it, is that you start spending tremendous amounts of time doing the work that other people already in a way solved. So it's yeah.
It's a really hard process. On the other hand, you learn a lot about the architecture and the lining behind all the technology, and I think that's a huge benefit.
It's a benefit, but it's not. I don't think it's always necessary to always have that technical background there. I think, or I hope that in our work, actually, this background isn't always as clearly visible, because it's not about hey, we've made our own tools and we've made all these things by ourselves. Of course, it's about it's about the work itself.
Mm-hmm. There was another question from the audience I want to cite. Most of your work is interactive. What do you think about the technologies that bring movement and body and interaction together? Are those projects the most fun for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think they are also, well, first of all, I think they're really fun, because also I think it's also what Bill T. Jones thinks about that knowing is something you do with your entire body, and also I think that in general people are their entire body, not just their brain, which is it's just a muscle. But I really like this idea of like working with the space and the people that are inside this space, and you start. You have to start thinking about things that are incredibly human and not so much technical. And that's just about like, how do you design the space? How do you design it in a way that people will go into space and pretty much do what you intended? And I don't think we ever got this. We got this like right. People will always come in and they will try to find the boundaries of what you have designed for them. But also, I think that's also part of why that is fun and and exciting.
Hey, super nice insights. Thank you very much for your time, and the talk was really inspiring.
Thank you
for being part of Talks.
Yes, thanks for having me, and also thanks to all the other speakers that had super interesting talks. All right.
See ya.
Ciao.